Well,
right.
I mean, at least you didn't put a T in it or something.
I don't think I did. No, we're good.
Nap inducting.
Inducting? Yeah, no, I know what
Yeah.
inducing is.
I know you do. It's just
Yeah, okay.
we've had a series of enjoyable typos over
And
time.
they'll keep
Yeah.
happening, man. They'll keep happening. So, yeah, week 5. So,
Yeah, what are you what's your notch to?
oh, I can open it up all the way now. So, see, there's no notch. They had to put a little safety pin in there. This is radio, not TV. So,
Right.
but William will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but no, I have almost full range of motion. Next week they'll take that safety pin out of there. Then I'll have full range of motion. I gotta live with it like that for a couple of weeks before they start letting me have it off for several hours a day. So
You looking forward to it?
I am looking forward to it. But man, I still got to be careful. So I grabbed a hot plate with this hand the other day without realizing it, and I went like that, and instantaneously I was like, "Oh, I fucked it up again." So, but fortunately, it wasn't bad. So it just when I flung that plate out of my hand. So and I just grabbed it, like I put it in the microwave, and then I'd taken the thing off of it, and then just naturally reached for the fucking plate after I got the thing out of there.
Yeah.
So and I was like, God damn, you fucking idiot.
Well, do you know how much mental discipline it takes to be aware of, all right, so I grabbed a hot plate and know that you have a deficiency and just suffer through it and say, no, I have to set this down.
I don't have that, man. So my pain tolerance when it comes to burns is very low.
I was saying, like, you can actually feel like you can smell and feel like your skin blistering. It's like, nope, I have to set this down gently. I'm gonna undo all that fine work I've done on my arm so far.
No, I mean, you'd have to be some kind of like Shaolin monk in order to be able to,
Fucking setting yourself on fire to protest the war.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's not, yeah. Got to get the message across. 5 more seconds.
Don't say. I want to say something. Don't say it.
Don't say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't scream.
Yeah.
Don't scream.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because that's a way different protest if that's how it goes.
But that's okay. This
effective in its own right.
Like, bad places already, man. So anyway, I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
We were talking about football.
Yeah, sort of.
It really came off the rails quickly.
Tangentially. We were talking about grabbing hot plates out of the microwave.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not re-injuring old injuries.
Like, dude, it happens. I mean, I just don't know why you went in with that arm. Like, why would you?
I have no idea, man. I was taking this thing out, so the directions were microwave this shit on a plate. I was like, all right. So I was like, all right, that makes sense. All right, so and it'll be easy. I'll just get it out of there. And so with my good hand, grabby, I grabbed the thing out of there and then put it on the counter. Okay, and then I was like spooning it or like mixing it up with a fork. So it was just a cup of noodles.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, fine. And then just without even thinking about it, I was like, oh, the microwave door's open. There's a plate in there. Let me just grab it. So,
but you're not left-handed. That's why it's so weird to me that you would.
Yeah, that's
first
true.
that you would use that arm, and then secondly that.
I don't know, man. When I'm in cooking mode, you never know. And that's not really even cooking. I mean, like, the hard thing right now, you ought to watch me, like, chop vegetables. It's like a murder scene because they just use one hand.
Yeah.
I might as well have a cleaver,
Like, do you just, like, use the other one as just, like, a club?
I can't.
You can't even, like...
I don't trust myself, man. Yeah. And then, so yeah, my cooking has been decidedly less exotic over the last, I'd say
Shit, yes.
3-4 weeks. I mean, it's still not bad. I mean, there's a lot of good shit that I can make. So, but yeah, it doesn't have as much knife work in it. So
yeah, I know. And I understand that, and that's tough. There are ways around it. I mean, you could buy pre-chopped stuff and all that other things, but
yeah. So I do have, like, in my fridge, I've always got like 5 different types of frozen vegetables that I use.
Yeah.
So, and one of them is the Bluebird sack of like diced veggies.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So just because they're good in a lot of things. Sometimes you just want that too, so
Yeah, that's
on
fine.
the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm not gonna sit there and pick carrots out of there. So
Would you? I mean,
I'd probably think of something else to cook first.
do you just not like the carrots or what?
No, if I was well, carrots are one of the things that I use the most of
Oh,
in
all right.
cooking. So yeah, because you do what? Like all soup bases and stuff like that are onions, carrots, celery, sauteed for like 3 minutes. So I can't remember. There's a French name for that shit. And an Italian one. That's how I make my spaghetti sauce now, is I start with that. So
Yeah.
yeah. And so, but yeah, you sit there and you spend 10, 15 minutes, chopping shit up first. So same thing when like I don't do stir fry anymore because that's all it is. I mean, it's like 5 minutes of frying and 10 minutes of prep work. So where you chop all that shit up. So I haven't done any of that lately. Anyway, even though like I actually before I wrecked my arm, I was getting to the point in time where you had me completely sold on using my Instapot as a rice cooker. So
It works.
it's so much better.
Yeah.
It's so much
It
better.
absolutely
Yeah.
works. Yeah, it's absolutely fine. Like you can there's like a small distinguishment you can make if you have like a normal rice cooker, like because that thing is designed to you just leave it in there, sort of,
Right.
or at least you can do it for longer. Like you can't just like put it in there and just for like a week.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I mean, if you're gonna keep it warm for a while, I mean, you can do that for like a day, especially if you're gonna be using it over and over again.
Actually, yeah. Like I'll throw my sticky rice in the freezer in the fridge overnight, and then I'll make fried rice out of that the next day. It's
Do that
wonderful.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wonderful. So
No, there's absolutely no problem with it. It's a fine piece of hardware. I've gotten more than miles and miles and miles out of mine. So
I haven't gotten as much because I don't cook some of the same things that I used to cook. So like I used to make pot roast all the time. I haven't made a pot roast in probably
Sure.
like 6 months. So but if I were to do it again, I mean that thing's basically my crock pot now too. So
that's kind of exactly it.
Yeah.
That's the same thing where like if I'm going to not necessarily roast or anything, like just if you're gonna like chicken's a perfect thing to throw in there. You just throw some
yeah.
like chicken breast in there, and then you can use that in so many things.
Oh yeah.
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 So it's
I don't
It's
usually have
extremely
chicken in
useful.
my house, so
well,
I mean sometimes I buy the so Costco sells this like fucking roll of chicken, and it's the individual 2 package
oh,
breasts.
okay, sure,
Yeah,
sure,
so I haven't bought it in a little while because I've been keeping other meat in the freezer, and it's just been a space thing. So, but that's actually a really good idea. I should probably start doing that again. So, because then you can just use it in a million different things. So, what do you do with it? What
Well,
are some of your favorites?
I mean, that's just simple. It's like whatever I want to mix it with. So if I'm just going to, so I'm gonna go if I'm just gonna go ahead and make up some like chicken breasts, I'll just throw those in the side, or I'll tear them up ahead of time, like just kind of, they come out so tender that you just put it in the fork and you put it in a thing, and then like yeah, if you want to make some rice with it, and you just put it together,
okay.
pasta, whatever, that kind of thing.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you just have like spare chicken whenever you need it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually
Last
really
a
good
few
idea.
days. I mean, it just depends on really, dude. It depends on who's eating it. It depends on who's eating it and how much like how committed you are to eat like the same thing over a few days. Like I don't like wasting food,
Mhm.
right? So the whole thing, like if you're going to cook something in there, you're gonna make a bunch of it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, if you've got people chowing down on it, that's great. But it sucks to throw away, you know, half a thing of like basically like 2 breasts of chicken or whatever. It's like this
Yeah.
is wasteful. This is
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm a little bit more. I've gotten more cognizant over that since I started cooking a lot more. Where it's like, all right, so think about how much you're gonna eat before you cook this. So kind of thing. So like with pasta, or any kind of like if I'm going to make a batch of spaghetti sauce or something like that. Used to be like, oh, I'll read the recipe. And it's enough for like a small army, and then after like 3 days, you're like, I'm done with this, So you either freeze it and then never use it again because by the time you want it again, you're like, well, fuck it, I'll just make it.
Yeah, it's not like pasta or something is a fucking all day affair. It's not like I'm not actually making Sunday gravy. I'm not
Right. Yeah, so I started getting to the point where I make small batches of that shit now. So the only thing in my crock pot that I make a shitload of whenever I do it is like soup. So, and I make a couple different types of
There
soup.
you go.
And then,
Yep.
yeah.
And that keeps for so long.
It depends on the soup. So like I make a pretty mean broccoli cheese soup. That shit goes bad quick. So it's just I don't know what it is. So but I'll make like baked potato soup. That stuff would be good for a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I don't know what it is with broccoli cheese soup. It must be all the dairy in it or something.
Probably, now that I think about it, I've never made that. I never thought to make that.
It's easy.
You got me thinking about it and like, all right, well, what really needs to go in there?
It's broccoli and then you can either melt cheese or you can use the cheese block. Both of them work. And then a little bit of milk or cream and then a little bit of flour and that's it. And I don't even use the flour. And then I use baking soda or not baking cornstarch. So
Okay, there you go.
yeah, so that's really easy to instantaneously make gluten free. So
Well, there you go. Actually, that's a great idea.
sure,
And then just what you spice it to however you like it. Yeah.
salt and pepper to taste.
Yeah.
That's it, man. You got celery seed, that helps, but it's not that big a deal.
Well, I bet you if you were feeling crazy and wanted to go Cajun on it, you could probably throw some cayenne pepper.
I do put some paprika in it actually.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's like
You're mad.
I know that's like
What are you doing?
I know. That was one
How
of those.
ethnic of you.
I didn't realize how many things have paprika in it. So, it just kind of rounds out any kind of other flavor that it's attached to. So
Funny, yeah.
Yeah. So
It
whereas
sounded so exotic when I was young.
it's not, yeah. And I mean, it looks so sexy when you pull the lid off. You're like, oh, it's red. It must be really hot. And it's like, it's like thick pepper.
Now, cayenne is hotter. Don't
Cayenne
get
is
me wrong.
way fucking hot. So I actually make some of my own spice mixes. So like I got a blackened seasoning that I use whenever I
at you.
make fish. Yeah. That's got just like a quarter. I mean, so it's a thing that's like, I don't know, maybe about when I mix them up, I make maybe about 3 or 4 ounces of this shit. But that thing's got like a quarter teaspoon of cayenne pepper in it. It'll roast your hair off, man. So, and it's just like use a little of that.
Oh, I used to go nuts with that
I
stuff.
can't believe how
That's-
hot that shit is, man. So
I used to go crazy with it.
oh, I can't do it.
There's also you use this shit at your own risk. There's actually a hot oil that I use.
Is it Chinese?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. My dad used to use that.
You gotta use that sparingly. Like again, if what you're making is designed for like some kind of contest eating, that's fine. Go nuts. But a little bit of that packs a lot of punch.
Yeah.
So
My dad used to use that shit. So we could always tell because he'd make beef and broccoli with it and just put a little in it. And if he just did like one extra shake in it, it was almost inedible. At least for us.
I mean, we're not talking about that fucking crazy shit. The like the Dave's Insanity sauce or any of that other fucking nonsense.
Oh, the guys, what's that show where they eat the hot wings?
Oh,
seen that?
yeah, it's just a backdrop and
Two guys eating wings. And
yeah.
one guy's supposed to be like, I'm the wing guy, and then he interviews people who are really interesting. But by the end of the interview, they don't really want to be there most of the time.
No, you always have this celebrity there. It's there's like 10 hot wings, and then there's like Tom Hanks, and
Right, yeah.
he comes in there and says, oh, I think I can eat some hot wings, and then he gets to like number 5, he's like, these are really hot, and it's the same show every time.
It is the same show every single time, man. So there was one guy that I saw who did them backwards though.
Oh, he went hot.
He went hot first, and they said, "Well, you're not supposed to do that." He's like, "Well, you're paying me to be here, so
Right.
yeah, So, or whatever, he said something like that. I can't remember what it was, but it was like basically, it was like, I'm the guy who can walk out of this.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I can't remember who it was.
Now, look, I've watched plenty of shows. I know this is stupid, but I've watched plenty of shows where, yeah, I don't want to say it's necessarily like a contest or anything like that, or yeah, good idea, double checking. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's another one of those things. What fucking show did I work on? Yeah, got that. Okay, yeah, it was the header on this, basically like the clock screen. So when you're doing a show, you'll get the intro that says, how long this is, how you right, and it'll show you like what episode, what season you're on. Right?
Okay.
And I'm looking at this, I'm like, why the fuck are there 30 seasons of Beat Bobby Flay?
Oh, really?
30 seasons.
A Beat Bobby Flay?
Yeah.
Wow. I haven't seen that in ages, but yeah. I mean, they must do multiple. He hasn't been on thing for 30 years.
Oh, he's been on tons of shit.
Yeah, but had his own show for the last 30 years?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is
There's something fishy going on there.
now, keep in mind, of course, some of those things are like the dual seasons where they do.
See, that's what I'm thinking.
Right?
Yeah.
But even if you chop that in half,
15 years?
15 years.
Okay, so I could see him having his own show for 15 years, no problem. Because I remember watching him when I was broke, poor.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was about 15 years ago. So,
I mean, yeah, that was poor people TV.
it was definitely Poor People TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that if they did, concurrent seasons or something.
It's the same shit. Like, nothing about it has changed. The format's changed a little bit, where now they have like two like celebrity people who are there, and they're gonna like give them a hard time and stuff like that. But this is
It's just modern TV, man. It's terrible.
it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like
Yeah.
it is so safe a format that this is what you're so cowardly at this point with programming that you have entrenched yourself in the things that the last bastions that you think are remotely safe.
Well, it's cooking shows and house flipping. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they come out with a new kind of like what a twist on house flipping shows every couple of years, or Love It or List It, kind of like shows.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
or the two Canadian brothers who are 9 feet tall, who show up from time to time. Obviously,
The
not
super
trucker
skinny guys?
Yeah, that's not the super skinny guys. Yeah. And then, so we were talking about this the other day, and I actually got curious, and I went and I started looking for Netflix's shit. So,
What do you mean?
Like, I wanted to see if they actually disclosed anything about
The data.
viewership on their shows,
okay.
and they do not.
Nope.
So they disclose gross viewership, but they do not break it down by show. They do not break it down by demographic. They don't do any of that stuff.
Nope.
So.
Nope.
No, and like, so even I was diving into some of their reports and trying to tease some of the information out. Now, there's a couple places where they'll talk about like, okay, we're going to expand in this market, okay, and so this is the current viewership in this market, okay, and then like a year later they'll report either growth or contraction within that market. But you got to really dig to find that shit. It's in there, but it's like,
still obtuse.
it's specifically designed to be obtuse, and so I mean I don't know, man. So then I remember that Netflix was part of what they used to call the FANGs. Do you remember this? So
No.
FANGs were your hot tech stocks in the 2010s. It was Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and I don't remember what the S was.
Are they still hot?
Kind of. Maybe. It might have been, yeah.
You know what? It's funny.
That might have just been plural. So it might have just been FANGs. So the FANGs versus a FANG stock. So
right.
But there were a bunch of like non-listed in the acronym stocks that kind of fell into that. So where it was like, okay, so these are hot intellectual property based companies where you basically, if you control access to the content, okay, you can make a lot of money. So, or if to put it more formal, if you control the distribution channel, so meaning that you're the one who's sitting in the center of the market, right? So like Twitter was considered one for a while, even though Jack Dorsey never figured out how to make money with it. So he'd still got plenty of investors over the years because of this. There have been other ones that kind of went, Tango Uniform, or at least kind of like got merged into other projects and stuff like that. And so when Facebook snapped up Instagram and stuff like that, or when YouTube got bought up by Google,
Right.
they kind of consolidated some of those things. And so these were companies that, they basically got big during an era where people were going to throw money at them anyway. So they're not like Facebook is extremely intransparent with any of its user data and stuff like that. I mean, you can find some of it out, all right, but it's technically a publicly traded company, but it's one that's controlled by one dude, making it the only publicly traded company that's like that. And so just because everybody was basically like, oh yeah, we want to give Mark Zuckerberg our money because he's going to make us a mint. And he's like, that's fine, but I'm going to create these things called founder shares. And I own all of them. So, yeah. And
So you guys can make money off this, but I make the decisions.
But I make the decisions, yeah. So, exactly. So, which is going to be hilarious when he actually dies. So, he'll probably outlive me, but whatever.
It's okay. So two things. I heard an acronym like that, but it was the San Francisco stocks, and it includes a lot of those groups that you just mentioned.
San Francisco, like Silicon Valley stocks.
Basically, yeah. Where it forms a word, and it did involve like Google and. I can't. Basically,
Apple.
those big employers in that area.
Yeah, Google, Apple, Facebook, Twitter. Well, not anymore. So actually, Twitter was just never that big compared to some of the other ones.
It's not.
Yeah. Because Amazon's in Washington, right? Yeah, they're in Washington.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I can't remember it. It just came up the other day. But yeah, it was specifically in reference to a person telling me about a conference they went to with a lot of this acronym kind of employees. So what is that?
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, it's Facebook, blah 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 blah, and it was only like 4 groups, but she mentioned like, but that makes up, it's like 50% of the people working in that area.
Well, in tech. Yeah, right. I guarantee you, the city of San Francisco has more.
No. Of course not. No.
Tech nerds.
No, because there weren't any fucking like city workers. Or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, the firefighters showed up. Good.
Yeah.
No, I got you.
Yeah, and the weird thing about Netflix is that they don't post that, but there are a couple of agencies out there that are. Sort of they sort of reverse engineer what the viewership is.
Yeah, I can see how that'd be possible.
Right? It's basically it's a different kind of Nielsen for streaming. It's the same thing where you extrapolate that data.
Yeah.
That way, and a few of them do them by how many times a show has been watched versus how many minutes of each show has been watched.
Yeah, so I saw not the minutes, but I saw the hours metric. So so they have viewing hours out there, which basically not just captures like, okay, this guy viewed it, but did someone like YouTube? Did you click off at a minute that you heard Jeff and Pat's voice?
Yes,
right,
yes. And more so, that and seeing is specifically what they look for is, all right, how many minutes do they actually watch of the following shows, right? So if you get a whole bunch of people to dive in for a little bit on the first one, or maybe they watch the first one, but if it just falls off a cliff.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right.
If it's a series, like a 5-part series or something like that,
or just a series, just a 13 episode or 8 or 10 episode show, and so they have things. It's just, they plug it in. It's like the
that's true because they were able to tease out the rings thing. They were able to tease out that. So the other way to do it, I mean, and it probably wouldn't be quite as accurate, but you could probably do it fairly easily, is to actually build your own sample out there of people who are Netflix viewers, and then just extrapolate that out onto the population.
You absolutely
So
could.
yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
some people have probably done that. So
I'm completely certain.
'cause, I mean, yeah, that would be easy to set up. It'd be like, hey man, I'll pay for your Netflix membership. So, for a year if you let me monitor your usage. So there's probably something in the user agreement that doesn't let you do that.
Actually, I would argue that you probably couldn't pay for their Netflix, usage, because that would basically muddy the waters. You'd have to take people that basically are signed up, they're paying for it voluntarily,
Oh, and sign them up.
but you could offer them
Yeah.
some kind of compensation, like the Nielsen boxes did.
Like the Nielsen boxes did, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I guarantee you there's something in the Netflix user agreement that protects that. So, but, it'd be like, catch me.
Fucking do something
Yeah,
about
fuck
it.
off.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, yeah, that's sort of the duplicitous part of this is it gives media companies the way to basically say anything about any show that they want. But fortunately, yeah, there are ways to look at this now and say like that ain't true.
No, that ain't true at all. Actually,
Ain't
that's
true.
hot garbage. So, yeah. Yeah, like even YouTube's a little bit transparent. I mean, you can see how many views another dude's got. So
Oh, yeah.
it's not hard.
And if you put the extension in your browser, you can see again how many dislikes it has again.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put that on.
Oh yeah.
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 Because if I downvote something, I want to know how many
Yeah.
people are on my
How many
side.
people agree with me on that one? I don't know, man. I mean, my YouTube viewing has gotten so picky lately. I mean, I can only tolerate so many minutes of something before it's either got me and I'm gonna watch it. So, or I'm like, no, I know where you're going with this. I can autofill all of your opinions. So I'm out. So, see you in the comments. I don't ever comment on YouTube videos anymore, man. So.
I'll do that on rare occasions. Like I've done it. It just rarely just into so half my comments were me trying to troll you, and you'd never bite.
No.
And then the other few.
I know who you are.
And then the other few were like a couple like small musical artists, or I just want to say like, oh, that was fantastic.
Oh, okay. I've done that with some gaming channels where I'm like, hey, man,
Yeah.
your videos are really good. So, or something
Yeah.
like that. I don't think I've ever said anything mean on YouTube. So, and I certainly haven't ever said anything that wasn't complimentary. Like, I'm very much so like, I'll just hold my peace, man. So I'll not watch it. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess yeah, I did. On one of the, I told Movie Bobby's a retard, but that's
Who's
sort of-
this?
Movie Bob. I told him.
Oh, Movie Bob? Yeah,
I
okay.
commented on one of his videos. I'm like, dude, I was like, you want to talk about the movies or the Reagan administration, because these two things aren't related.
No, he wants to talk about the Reagan administration.
And yeah,
we all
so,
know that.
Yeah, so his fucking goons came after me. Fuck
He's got
you.
goons?
And he's got a loyal pack of retarded goons that that he lets kind of do his what is it? It's basically like, who were these guys? Where like Hitler wouldn't tell you to do something,
Right, yeah. But he'd approve smilingly if you did
Exactly.
something for him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like, all right, we're gonna let these people like tacitly say horrible, stupid things in my name, but-
Right, but not dirty my hands myself.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I didn't think Movie Bob was that big of a deal. I remember watching a few.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
He's just a shitty human being. He's like the example of a shitty human being.
So I watched him for a while. A while. I think you and I were both
Me
watching
too.
at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And there was sometimes he'd make good points about
Absolutely,
movies, but
yeah.
then like after a little while you realize it's like, oh wait a minute, you're a tanky. Got it. So
But not even a tanky.
No,
It's
yeah. He's not a tanky. He's over there somewhere.
no, he's
So-
he's just an absolutely he's just a shitty human being and projects this shittiness of like it's the classic the classic version of the person that likes to say that well, all people on this planet are stupid except for a very small group of.
Oh yeah, he's one of
It's
those.
like, oh,
Dude.
fuck
Yeah,
you.
fuck off.
They're all stupid, or they're all mean or terrible. I'm like, actually, the overwhelming majority of human beings are nice.
Yeah, very nice.
The ones that aren't are loud,
They're easy to pick out. That's
and
for
they
sure.
fucking stand out. Yes,
And many of them live in a small box with another dude. You know?
they sure do.
They sure do.
Yeah, they sure do. And if you filter your political views through that lens, you can see where that person's going to land. And you can see basically the policies that support that, where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe these people are allowed to vote. I can't believe these people.
Oh, yeah.
Why is land allowed to vote? Blah, 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 blah. You fucking idiot. Yeah, that's why I'm blocked.
On YouTube or from him?
On X, yeah, he blocked me a long time ago.
Yeah, no.
I told him he was a fucking nutsack.
So that's okay. You'll have more followers than him.
It'll take a while.
It'll take a while.
It'll take a while. It doesn't have as many as you think, but it'll take a while.
Yeah. I've actually been spending a little bit more time on the X lately.
What are you doing? What happened to you? What are you doing on here?
So I got this. So like when I first got back on there, man, it was kind of like, all right, it was like, oh, the volcano is erupting. It was kind of like visiting Kilauea, and it's like, this is fucking cool, man. It's fun, to watch. And then you get on the next day, it's like the volcano is erupting. And then you get on the next day, it's like the volcano is erupting.
Yeah.
And then you get on the next day, and they built a park around the volcano, so you can visit it on weekends.
Yep.
And so you just have to like follow a combination of people who are going to fight. So it's kind of fun. So I do not partake. I am strictly my interests are strictly voyeuristic. So
no, that's fine. That's fine. Like Jane Goodall didn't want to like be a chimp. She wanted to observe the chimps, and that's fine.
Right, yeah. So I'm gonna do so behind glass.
But you're absolutely right. It is it is a geyser. It is a constant. It is like if Old Faithful was going 24/7, and you jump in there and you don't wait for something to erupt. There's always.
You don't have to wait. It's like a train leaving the station every minute.
Yes.
So to all destinations. So. Yeah.
And it's up to you. It's up to you. You cannot, you just have to shut down certain things and say, like, okay, I'm looking for this. Well, you'll get it.
Oh, you can find it.
And you'll get it immediately.
Yeah, you can find it really easily.
And at all hours of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, the absolute, I mean, I don't know. There's a little bit of Schadenfreude in it, but, all these people that I've watched and listened to on their podcasts or whatever for a couple of years now, it's like, wow, you guys fight a lot. That's cool. I don't know why.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like, well, I wonder what would happen if this person debated that person. And then you realize, oh, you've done it a lot. That's fucking cool. I want to watch this. So
you're talking about the marquee matches, right? Where you're talking about you're not talking about fucking Malice at the Palace, where fucking they're getting into it with fans.
No,
you're talking about when the pugilists actually square off against each other.
Yes, yeah, okay. Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, and you start to get a landscape. Well, I mean, you're gonna sit in your own news bubble on that thing. So it's very hard to actually get outside of that. So that I have noticed. So you have to go looking for people who are in those circles. So
you do, and it has a. See, here's the weird thing is, all right, so ever since the Twitter concentration camp was liberated, right?
Through work?
Well,
right, yeah.
Through money.
Through money, yeah.
Yeah, ever since it was liberated, right, the place it's exploded, right? And actually, the what's funny is they're like, oh, this guy's going to run it into the ground. The fucking the usership data is through the roof.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it's through the roof.
Yeah, every guy that I listened to that basically said it was cooked is back on there and having
Okay.
added it daily. Yeah, and it's like, okay, so we know where your money is. So,
You know where no one is? Mastodon. You know where no one else is? Blue Sky.
well, no, I don't even think Blue Sky still exists, man.
It still exists, but there's
Yeah,
nobody on it.
Mastodon was a dumb idea. As soon as someone explained to me exactly how it worked, I was like, that's never gonna work. So, you're building a mansion with 1 million rooms in it. So that and you have to be invited into that's these are called chat rooms, man.
Right. You
Discord already beat
I
you.
was gonna
to
say,
this,
yeah, if you're gonna do that, like move over Discord,
right,
but you
good luck
don't
with that,
you
yeah.
don't move Discord over. It has a base,
It has a huge base.
pedophiles.
So,
But
well, and the youngest generation, man. Yeah, I know.
yeah, Roblox users and pedophiles.
Roblox users and
And,
pedophiles, and I didn't
yeah.
realize how many people play fucking Roblox.
It's
It's insane.
it's a religion, man. It's a way
got
of life.
religion. It's not a single game, man. It's a
No.
game maker game. Yeah, it's weird.
This
So,
dumbass thing has an indoctrination. Well, actually, the other thing too is it still boggles my mind, like at this point now, how old Minecraft is and how active and still
It's huge.
growing
It's
the
huge.
user base is
It's huge. Yeah.
without ever getting to number two.
Minecraft is the only thing from that I remember playing before my daughter was born that she is actively involved in. It is the only thing that has crossed generations here. So nothing else. Nothing interests her. None of my TV.
Oh, that interests her. Yeah,
none of my
yeah.
TV. None of my other games. None of that stuff. So
Like some franchises have gone on so long that yes, of course they're growing to different generations. Like I imagine there's people passing, John Madden football onto their children, and
man, I saw ads for that today. That looks gorgeous. So I don't want to play it.
Oh, Will's
but
playing
yeah,
it.
no, I thought he was playing last year's. So
well,
yeah. So I was seeing 24 today. And I was like, is that real? So it was actually pretty good. So,
But I remember thinking that in 2005. I
I
remember
did too.
thinking that,
Yeah,
and
I did too.
it's amazing. But yeah, it's crazy. Like I imagine that right now there are people passing the Call of Duty baton onto their children and
maybe.
stuff like that, but not your kid. She
No, but like kids in general. I
would
mean,
not give two poops about
it's
that.
different kinds of games they play. It's different kind of movies they like to watch. It's different genres now. So, because like even my daughter, all her cousins and stuff, they're into way different shit nowadays. So, and Minecraft is like a theme among it's their cultural touchstone. So, and it's actually related to YouTubers too. There's like
Yes.
particular YouTubers out
Yes.
there that are basically like gods. So, that were like, our Bruce Willis of our days. So,
And if you see it for what it is too, like you and I have enjoyed this in the past too. Like I enjoyed it, but I clearly didn't drink the Kool-Aid the same way that other people have.
what on Minecraft?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, even when I enjoyed it, I still never, took it the same direction that these guys did. But when you think about it, it's not really a competitive game. It's not.
No.
No, it's. I can't think of a better platform for kids to actually, jump in. Like there is nothing about this
Yeah,
thing I
that's
can
true.
look at and say, wow, this is harmful. This is nothing. This is nothing like fucking 1992 or whatever. And my dad's over there cheering. He's like, yeah, rip his spine out. There's nothing objectionable.
like that, yeah.
In terms of like hype or anything like that,
Uh-huh.
where I could look at. And I remember this is one of the funniest things I remember back in the day. It was like when Microsoft ponied up $2 billion for Minecraft, and people were
yeah.
like, "This is the biggest waste. So you'll never get a return. Minecraft is done." Blah 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 blah. That thing has just been a money printer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was that. I think you could make a pretty decent argument that that's actually what kept Xbox alive for years. So
Well, it's on every platform, so they still get paid no matter
Exactly.
what. The Activision Blizzard sale just finalized,
Oh, did they sell that to Microsoft or?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, that'll be interesting.
and so it's not the thing is Call of Duty is not going exclusive, but that means they get paid for everybody
Yeah.
purchasing it.
Well, yeah, that makes sense if you can do cross-platform compatibility on that,
Yeah.
and yeah, if you own the franchise, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
So they're gonna make money. They're gonna mint money with that. Or they won't in the I mean, like, there's the other thing is, man, we're only a couple years away where you and I can probably ourselves design fucking games. So it's getting close. So
Bro, with a little bit of dedicated effort, we could do that now.
we could probably do that now, but
we could go ahead and go into
Yeah.
Unity, or we could go ahead and
yep,
set up Unreal Engine 5 or whatever.
exactly. Like the studios that I'm seeing, because like even after Starfield, Todd Howard said something about the other day he's getting ready to retire. So, and he's not that old, man. So,
No, but there comes a time where you say like, well, Starfield was his baby for a while.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I guess I should take a tilt on that. What did you do in that game?
I've been still fucking around like Minecraft.
Have you?
Yeah, no, I got sucked into all the faction shit in that one. I'm finally doing the Rangers one because I finally took Sam Coe back home.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, all right, man, let's do all the things over here. It's just like Fallout for me. I go to a system and I'm like, I'm gonna ride all the rides while I'm here.
Okay.
So
Sure.
yeah. And so, but I'm also getting to the point in time. It's like, all right, I better go back. It's been a while. So, but I don't know, man. I've been taking there's a thing that I used to do in Minecraft that, I mean, most people probably wouldn't understand, but I would literally spend hours just exploring maps to looking for a really good spot to build like a fort or something. And this game has got that. So it really does. So, I've seen like, okay, so there's some sameness between a lot of the aliens, but then every now and then you go to a planet, it's like, what the fuck is this thing?
There is.
Yeah.
I mean, you could
Is
turn
it
around.
dangerous? You're poking it with a stick to see. It's hissing at me. It's hissing at me.
Fucking with it? Yeah.
Those look like claws. Those might be claws.
No, but I mean, to that point, I mean, you could make the same argument with Minecraft. You could say,
Sure.
it's like, oh, look, these biomes aren't really that different, are they? It's like, well, they're as different as you want them to be, right?
Yeah, that's true. So now, okay, to be fair, in Starfield, there is a lot of sameness. There are a lot of barren moons that have helium and iron on them, and I mean a lot. So and then like
Well, what true to point, that's kind of the universe actually is.
it kind of is, and so like that's one of the things is like I did see an interview from Todd Howard where he said they actually nerfed a lot of the effects because it was just really difficult to play. So, and I was like, actually, that would have been cool. If I wanted to go to this planet, that means I'd have to like build a whole new fucking spacesuit, that actually was like, it's say it's got a gravity of 1.5. And so that just crushes your gut.
See, okay.
So that'd be cool.
So with that, yeah, see, I would get on board with that if they basically had like if that were a mode. If that were
That'd be great. Yeah. So, yeah, he said they had to nerf all that stuff, but that's why you have all the heal paste and all that shit in there. So, because it's like there are so many different things. Because one guy was pointing out, it's like, yeah, a planet that had a gravity of 1.5, rain would be like bullets. So, and it's like, that's a good point. That'd be really cool. So, and, the same thing is like, if you had like one of these missions where you had to take someone from one planet to another, and then one planet had a gravity of 0.5 and you're taking them to a 1, they're going to die. So as soon as they get there, kind of thing. And so it's like that'd be neat. There's actually a little bit more of that in the game.
But the turnaround on that would be how many players would absolutely hate that.
A lot. And so but Bethesda's always been smart about game design in that respect. They know where their bread is buttered. So they know that most people are going to come in and play a game for 45 hours and never touch it again. So they'll get their $70 out of those guys.
Well, and you will also have a group of people that will take a game like this and they're going to play it for 700 hours.
Yeah, I might be one of them. So
totally fine. It's set up for that, man. Like I said, I finished it, but it's set up for. Well, okay, I didn't finish it. I mean, there's a point where it's up to me. It's up to me to keep going if I want to keep going. It's
Right.
just the
One
so
more turn of Civ.
well, so I should have done that earlier because all right. So unfortunately, that means that I'm not taking the trip back to Night City that I wanted to because Skylines comes out in 2 days.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm not going to be able like if I go in there, it's like what's the point of like jumping in here and trying to rush through this game, right? It's like I don't want to rush through it. I want to go back and revisit all this crap and see, all this other stuff and actually like dive in and enjoy this stuff again, rather than try to knock it out in 3 days and
Yeah, and see, I realized that I wasn't going to be able to
Yeah.
finish it, man. So, and that's why I was like, all right, we'll just go where you want to go. And so,
Yeah.
Skylines will drop. I'm going to wait. I've already bought Skylines. I bought everything. I bought the like first year of expansions and all the shit and stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool.
I was like, fine, here, I'm going to play the fuck out of this game. So here's all my money. Take it. But the last couple days is that the frame rate on it is ass. So, and that they should like absolutely push back the start date. But to their credit, they're like, no, hey, we told everybody we're going to do it. And so it might run like ass. They had this like kind of pre-apology on the Steam page yesterday.
Fair enough.
And I was like, all right, that's cool. So, but then they were like, I seen like two guys playing it, who both
Oh, like early release shit, or
yeah, but these are two guys that I've been watching for years.
Yeah.
So, and they got early access to it. And one of them actually went through and did benchmarking on all kinds of different systems
Oh, okay.
on it. And so, if it runs like ass on your machine, which it shouldn't, but if it does, turn VSync off. So, because apparently something's
okay.
fucked up with that.
Okay.
So there you go. Practical tip for the podcast. So
Fair enough. All right.
yeah, because he actually benchmarked my machine with my card, and it'll push 30 FPS. I was like, that's fine. So for a fucking like Skylines game, that's great. So like I'd be pissed if that was a fucking Cyberpunk.
Well, okay, well.
So, but yeah, so I know that Skyline's gonna drop. I'll probably wait till the weekend. I think I pre-downloaded it already.
Did you?
I don't know if you could, or if that might have been Liberty City that I did that with. Because that's been popping up on my YouTube feed, and I'm definitely gonna make a run through on that one again. But the thing that they say on that one is like, so it adds a whole new section to the city, and there's a whole new plot line. So there's whole different endings now to the game, and so they're like, you can play it with your old character, but you probably don't want to. So, because they changed the entire like fucking perk tree. So
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And so, but I don't know, man. That game being at least one of my top 5 favorites of all time, I'm definitely gonna play that. So
That's so weird too, because I mean, it's the same shit where it was reviled for a while, right? And okay, I get it.
Yeah.
If you wanted to look at like if we go back in history, and again, I've watched like post-mortem videos on this, and same thing with Starfield. I've been watching things where like they'll go into a deep dive on and they say like, hey, this is antiquated. This is
I think movie Bob in it.
no, well, no.
Okay.
I'll say this, like, so with Starfield, let me say this in hindsight, because at first, okay. At first, I was a little bit like irritated by the clunkiness of the interface, right? And I don't take that back. I think that's still true. There are certain things where, there are certain things in the system where you can tell that this was meant for something that was either cut or never implemented. Because when you look at it, you say, all right, so what is the point of? Okay, so let me get this straight. You want me to go here, okay, but you're saying, all right, but I can't go here because I haven't explored this system yet. So all I need to do is I have to plot a course to this.
Yeah.
There are things in here where it's like, this makes absolutely no sense.
No, that is so the whole galaxy map is weird. the ground map is ass too. Although I've gotten better at using it, so
Yeah,
because they're not as big as you think they are. So
they're not. And again, that's that. There is, the point that there's some people who made the point. They've said like, all right, so like we've talked about basically the big city, aspect is like, well, this is your big city aspect, but this is basically it's like Stetson Hills.
that man,
yeah,
it's like a mall.
it's like, just because you make the buildings tall
doesn't mean that a lot of people live here. Yeah,
yeah. There's a couple like whack things where they've said, well, what if you scaled it back and said, all right, instead of having so many dead planets, what if you actually made some of these, worth exploring? Like, valid point, right? What if you made some of these, faction choices a little bit more meaningful? And again, these are things that as they're saying it afterwards, I'm like, okay, well, all of this is true,
yeah.
right? It doesn't mean that I didn't have a good time, playing it for what it was, but everything that you're saying here is valid. And I remember the same thing with Night City over there in Cyberpunk, where it was, you can look at what's there, and then you can look at and say, well, wouldn't it have been cool if this? Wouldn't it have been cool if all these doors weren't locked? Wouldn't it have been cool
if you actually ride the train? Stuff like that, yeah.
Yes, things that were clearly meant to be.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, well, yes. Everything here you're saying is a fact, right? But the truth is, I had so much fun with what was here that it was fine. Now, I'm not going to sit there and turn around and say, like, Starfield's a perfect thing. I'm far from it. It's like, I've come to appreciate some of its flaws, and I've come to laugh at some of the things that passed were like, yes, this is dated. This is incredibly dated. This dialogue tree thing that you have with people is pathetic. This is embarrassing.
Some parts of it are better written than others, so of course, but there's a lot of it. It's very, very 2005-y. So
yes, exactly.
Yeah, and like so, but so at first I was kind of like, why isn't this like No Man's Sky? Why can't you just fly? And then I was like thinking about it. I was like, actually, that would make for a worse game. So in this case,
absolutely right.
Yeah, and so I was like, this was a good design choice here. The thing is I think just a couple little tweaks in the world building would fix everything in this one. And so, first of all, okay, so you go to New Atlantis, and it's supposed to be this huge city, okay? But say that actually is the biggest city in the galaxy, and it is that fucking big, okay? And so there's like maybe 20,000 people who live there, okay? So, and then, it'd be really, I think the game would be a lot more interesting if you dealt with people a lot less often. So, so your interactions with them were much more meaningful. Because, like, I'll land on a planet that's out in the middle of nowhere, and there's fucking junk all over it. And it's like, why would someone set up a helium mine here?
Great question.
There should be more of them. And I get it. It's just procedurally generated, and those things are in the decision sets. And so, bang, there you go. Here you go. So I'm sure they could adjust that very easily just with some, ones and zeros as to how fast those things generate.
Yeah.
But like the one thing that I miss about this game that was definitely in Fallout was just like, hey, what the fuck is over there? Let me go check it out.
Right.
So, and then sometimes it was nothing. Okay. Sometimes it was a death claw, and sometimes it was several. And then sometimes it was like, oh, there's a whole settlement over here. Fucking sweet. So, so that is missing from the game. And he could have very easily done that in this game. If they weren't just leading you around by the nose all the time and going, like, go back to the mission terminal, do missions.
Yes. So even the subtle, not so subtle way that it keeps, like, when you do something, it keeps kicking back to the main quest line.
Right.
And it is, all right, I got it. I'll get to that. But yeah, you're right. There's no sense of, all right, so when I go around this corner, right, am I going to see something that's really going to, shock me or kick the crap out of me, or like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here? It's either
this one's got the death heads on it, man.
Yeah, and there are things that are higher levels, but I mean, again, it's not a problem. It's not or anything like that. It's just
And the game's easy, so
It is easy.
It's easy, man. I mean, I've got the difficulty cranked. It is not hard, so I die rarely. I have a mountain of fucking meds, so that I carry around with me. I got a suit that administers them to me automatically.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I mean, you really have to be stupid in order to die in this game. So you know. The only thing that'll still get me every now and then is if you get jumped by three to five ships. Sometimes they just roast you. So
That's true.
you know, and I'm like, I'm rolling around in a pretty fucking tight ride.
And my ship was crappy compared to yours.
So, oh no, man. I mean, so like, if you do the Vanguard missions, it unlocks all these ship weapons that are just fucking.
Oh well,
beastly.
that's super cool.
Yeah. So you know, it's like I had to read this. It was like looking at the shield, and it was like. Is that right? So it's like 1,200, you know, versus my $120 shield, you know. So yeah, and then I mean it was like okay, so that's busted, but whatever. So, but those are the only times, and then every now and then, like in the faction quests where they have these set piece battles, you know, where you have to fight like fucking 5 terrormorphs at once. It's like yeah, okay, I might die, so maybe. It depends on who I bring with me. So, you know, more so anything else.
Well, and that was never a problem. Like, so your ships like kick the crap out of you know most of the universe, and when it came down to it, I'm like, all right, well, my dude's built as like the ultimate killing machine, right? So, you know, I never had any problems with that, you know, because that ended up being how I played the game. You know, there was a certain like. I guess the mentality was like take no shit from anybody, and you know I'm like all right cool, but even still that was limited. There was still like yeah I can say it, but he's still gonna make me do it.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of dialect where you can be an asshole and it has no effect on it whatsoever.
No.
Well, then there are every now and then there is a time where it's like okay this conversation's over and they start shooting at you. It's like well that's fine. I'm okay with that. Yeah. So it's like, why did you shoot all those people? It's like, you give me lip, man.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So you hear what he called me?
Yeah, I know exactly. So, well, he pulled his gun out first.
Exactly.
It was his problem. So
he called me chicken.
He called me chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of like things like that in there, but I mean, I don't know, man. The base, just the concept of the game, the exploration of the game. I like the aesthetic of the game quite a bit.
I agree.
So, the guns, there's a couple of them that are dumb. But most of them are pretty cool. Well, they are. You're right though. They are kind of samey.
They are samey, yeah.
But then you know, all you do is you just roll with one of your favorite ones, and so that's what I started doing. I wasn't carrying around a Doom shopping cart full of guns anymore. I got like 2. So yeah, I've got one that goes bang and one that goes bzzz. And that's all that I need. You know. So, which
I didn't even need a zapping weapon, man.
I keep it because like every now and then there's like an NPC or something that, you know, I don't want to kill him. So it's my my non-lethal. So, but after a while it was like I don't need a minigun, I don't need this grenade launcher, which is garbage. So, you know, I mean, and then once you figure out that the rifle skill is completely busted. Along with the marksman thing, it's like, oh, okay. So all I have to do is have a semi-automatic rifle, just like I did in Fallout,
and that's
and I can plug anybody.
That is part of it, and again, it's part of that is it feels like I said, I guess to that end, it felt familiar, right? Which. I guess to that extent, that's something nice in the sense that, you know, when you're going through something like this and all the menus are different and the skill tree is different, right?
Yeah.
But it's sort of nice to have something that feels familiar, but eventually it becomes like, wow, this isn't, I don't know how to describe it. There's this weird relationship where the sameness felt good and bad at the same time. It was a little bit weird. It was a little bit weird. It just, there were no like big shocks. The people around you, like the people at the lodge, is like, you guys are useless. I don't mean like I don't mean in terms of like you don't have uses like on the ship, but in terms
great
of
uses on the ship.
But in terms of you guys bring so little to the story of this game, to the color of this game.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't know. There's a couple characters that are I don't know. I mean, there's only 4 of them that you can have tag along with you, and so there's not as many. Like Fallout had triple that.
Tons.
Yeah. So I mean, there are people who are like, ugh.
There
Like
were,
the mutant
and-
is like, I get it that you quote Shakespeare, but you're a mutant. I'm gonna kill you. So and then okay, he's gone. So
Okay, well, and that was the mindset that you put in. Yeah,
that was the mindset that I put into that game. This one, yeah, they're very samey. Samco is a little bit different, but he gets whiny after a while, and I got sick of it. So
It's weird. He's got this like whiny stoic cowboy thing going on, and with a kid, and yeah, it's a little bit bizarre. I'm not.
You don't need a companion in this game.
You don't, and they add so little to the flavor of it.
There are other things that add a lot more flavor to it. So like one of the traits you can get is like called kid stuff. Did you do that one?
No.
It's where your parents are in there, and so it generates 2 people that kind of like are crosses between your characters.
Oh.
It's fucking excruciating, but it's hilarious because you meet them all over the place.
Oh, really?
So yeah, because they retire as soon as you get started, and you have to send them like $500 a week or something like that, so that they can go on a vacation. And you find them in the most fucked up place, and you're like, "Dad, why are you here?" So
okay. Well,
yeah.
all right.
So
all right.
okay, so that's very Fallout-esque. It's just a nice little piece of color in the game that you can completely miss if you don't choose to partake in it. So the other things out there, like with the 4 main characters that you can roll around with, it's like, so I made the mistake of picking the extrovert thing because I was like, well, most of the time I'm going to have a companion, so I might as well take the bump on it. It was a mistake, okay, because after a while it was like your incessant whining is pissing me off. So, or it's this other thing. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, you need to stand outside while I do business, okay, because you're going to get mad at everything that I do. So in here, yeah,
right.
It was just like, all right, so the relationship dynamic in this game is truly bad.
Yeah,
So and considering the studio, that's a letdown. So
well, okay, so obviously, like, I'm sorry, like, I know that we're talking about Obsidian versus Bethesda,
Right.
and like, so the relationships and the dialogue tree in New Vegas, blew the doors off of 3 and 4. Right, that's their stock and trade. It also meant that the game was, fucking a buggy disaster because everything Obsidian does has ever been that way. Not that I didn't have fun with it, but yeah, they're just they all have the same morality. It's nobody's gonna be like, hey, I was cool with you, not paying for that.
Well, yeah, you got the chick who's got the fucking, like, she steals shit. And then she gives you shit if you steal something. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like, I thought this is what you did.
I know. It's weird. It's like, so why even include this? Why even if...
Well, and like the factions are the kind of the same way too, because you can join all of them. So, it like being in the UC Navy does not exclude you from being in the Freestar Collective. Then becoming a marshal. And so I was like halfway down both trees before I was like, all right, I'm going to have to choose. Kind of like the railroad and the militiamen and stuff like that. And then it turned out to be just fine. So it was like, oh no, we're cool. And I was like, wait a minute, I can be in both at what? Wait a minute, what? So yeah, it was kind of like, all right. So you're not forcing me to make choices in this game. Got it. So I mean, there's only a couple places where you do that. So when you get attacked, you got to make a choice there, and it does have ramifications. So,
But they're pussy ramifications.
Well, yeah, you just lose one of your companions that you're not going to use anyway. So, it's like, whatever. So, but, there is, like, it seems like they built, like, a really cool sandbox that they could do a lot of really cool shit with. But then they put this really kind of, like, lukewarm, like, oh, go check it out if you want to kind of thing into it. Without necessarily making you make any of the, and it just reeks of like internal politics within the studio, where it's like, okay, well, I want this guy to be able to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and I want to bring Sam Coe on this, and Andreja on that, and I want to be in both the Freestar Collective and the UC Navy. It's like, okay, fine, we're just gonna let you do it. So
I don't even think necessarily it was like an internal politics thing. I feel like, coming from the top, again, this being, Tower's baby, I think there were a big list of things that says, like, I want these things, right? And there's just, like, there's like a half-assed implementation of a lot of them, right? Where, instead of saying like, dude, all right, we're going to make a much tighter product if we cut this and actually work this down. It's like, you know what? Find a way to get them both in there. Right?
Oh, okay.
It's like,
yeah, I can see that.
They said, all right, so if we cut down the NPCs by this much, right, we can actually make the ones that are worthwhile. It's like, no, they all got to stay, right?
Well, yeah. Why do you still need 5 dialogue choices for everything? So, I mean, you're just talking about upping your entire inputs on that. Yeah, I can see your point.
Yeah, and I
can see your point.
Again, it's the same. Like the galaxy map to me says it all. Like
right.
when I jump in there and say like, the fact that you have this this jumping system the way that you do, there's clearly something else that you had in place at some point.
My guess is that it was originally designed as a fully 3D map. So, and then you kind of had to squish it down a little
Could
bit.
be. Look,
I don't know, man. Because it's like, well, wait a minute. Like the universe is expansive, and so like shouldn't I be able to rotate this? But no, you roll it out like an actual map. It's kind of weird.
Sure.
So,
I mean that, but I also think that there was probably something that had to do with the setup here of, the different like jump drives or something in there that actually made this prohibition meaningful. But otherwise, it's just you're making me take an extra step, or 3 extra steps.
I gotcha. Yeah, so normally it'd be like, no, that's so far you got to have a B in order to be able to do that or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel other things where it's like I feel like there was going to be a much bigger deal when it came to like contraband stuff. But
it's not. It's like completely benign. So you just take it to the den and sell it. So, and it's not even worth that much money. You think it'd be like, oh yeah, well these forbidden pages of the Quran should be worth millions.
Absolutely.
So, and they're like, oh, we'll give you $1,500 for that. I was like, why did I even stop here?
You're like, I don't fucking roll over in bed for 1,500.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you, nuts?
Yeah. So I don't know, man. So I mean, still, I'm gonna give it a pretty positive rating. It'll probably change quite a bit by the time I play it again. Because they said they're committed to creating more content for what, like 5 years?
Do they?
Something like that,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And so, maybe they'll get some of the pieces back on that superstructure there, but, just as far as RPGs go, it's like I want to go back to Night City. So I really want to go back just because, so this game's missing a few things that Cyberpunk managed to do and pick up from other games, including The Witcher and things like Fallout or previous Bethesda titles, maybe even Skyrim and stuff, that are just not there yet in Starfield. So, but could be with a little bit more time and effort. So, but now that Cyberpunk's 3 years old now?
Something like that.
Something like that.
It doesn't feel like it, but yeah.
It doesn't feel like it, but I mean, I'm kind of ready, and I'm already thinking about what kind of dude I'm going to make. And, my backstory and, how fast I'm going to do some of the initial quests, when I'm going to take my time in the game, So I think I'm going to keep Jackie around for a little bit longer this time. So even though there's only like 1 or 2 missions you can do with him. But I don't think I want to go into Arasaka Tower with my little pig sticker, So it just doesn't seem right. So I don't know, man. But we'll see what's in store for me.
I haven't thought about what to put together. I'm
gonna have to see what the skill tree is.
That's exactly it. I kind of want to jump in there like it's like fresh again.
Well, it's been a while since I played it. So
exactly. Yeah.
It's for me. I think the last time I did even a little playthrough, and I don't think I made it all the way through last time. That was probably over a year ago. No,
so, I think so. I think it's around the same time that I did that last. Maybe a little bit more recently, but not by much.
Not by much.
much. I'm looking forward to it. It's just that the everything. I guess that's the two things about these games that really. Because I have to. I mean, you eventually went back through it here, and there's no two ways around it. When it comes to being a complete experience, Witcher 3 kicks their butt in terms of
both games.
Yeah, in terms of actually being a complete experience, in terms of having just so much more personality to it.
It does.
right? So much more personality to it. It feels like a complete experience. But that doesn't mean that, these things don't, like, I'd prefer to be in a night sitting area. Like, so here's something that I was thinking about, right? So there's this thing. One of the things I watched recently was I watched a couple of I don't necessarily want to say documentaries, but a couple of things about Japan and a couple of places in Asia, right? Just in terms of what's going on with their culture. There was one where they were talking about, like, basically, what was it? It was basically like, why is it that you always kill gods in Japanese games? And this ended up being like an hour-long history lesson,
Okay.
right? That starts in China and walks all the way through, and they're doing the big history thing, right? And they talk about how this situation that they're in started off as a lost decade, right? And it is now creeping up to being a lost half century.
What, in Japan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of where they were in the 70s and 80s, and how they said this bubble was so huge, right, that popped on them, and they absolutely, it's like they have to do something soon, or it's
Well, I mean, it's not, Japan's not going to just like fucking sink into the sea.
no, of course not,
Yeah,
no. But in terms of, like, how it's radically changed their culture, right? And there's this thing. This is like where the fantasy thing comes in, Patrick. This is where something I wanted to ask you about, because this is something I noticed there. Like, I think I may have mentioned it to you before, right? One of the biggest, like, it is just soaked with a format that's called isekai. Did I ever tell you about this?
I think I've heard it, but run it by me again.
This is basically, that's a term for basically another world, right?
Okay.
And so a lot of times it's based off of an idea that, okay, you're a person in this place, and for whatever reason, either you essentially open the door to Narnia, or you die and you're reincarnated somewhere else. And you're essentially in a different body, but you have all your memories, your skill sets of what you had in this real world. But you're living in a different world now. And it just so happens that a lot of what made you valuable there in that alternate world, right, didn't do you much good where you were.
Yeah, in the real world.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
So if you were, like, really into MMOs, that actually pays off for you.
That'd be nice. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because you have this understanding of systems. You have this understanding of, it's like, oh, okay, well, you were a salary person, right? Well, that helps you organize. It's like, well, these primitives, these fantasy people, right, don't know how to run a business, right? This is how you open a shop there.
Double entry bookkeeping,
Right.
is the mystery.
And what that struck me as is, like, how different was, like, to me it seems like patently clear why that is such a popular genre there, right? And
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, it's all fantasy based in some respects. So, you never jump into an MMO and you're an absolute fucking weakling and always will be compared to other people in the game.
well, and this is my question here: is there a version of that in Western fantasy, or is this something
What, U.S. fan or like
yeah,
Western Civ?
yeah, basically like Europe and
So, like, no, because there's a different. I don't know, man.
what is the appeal? What is the difference between that level, those two levels of fantasy?
Well, it's the reason why, like, so if you take a look at your U.S. audiences, 99.999% of your players in those games are going to play it straight. They're going to be the good guy. They're going to save the woman. They're going to fix the society stuff.
Yeah.
That's a very Judeo-Christian kind of thing, bringing righteousness to the land of the unjust. So it's a similar fantasy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. So expand on that a little bit. All right. So
Okay.
like, well, okay. So if I'm going to take that, like, let's go with our most like classics. Like, take like a Tolkien, for example, right? Is there an aspect of that in there?
That's one of desperation, but yeah. So it's the defense of all things that are good in the world against something that's purely evil. So, and the whole idea is that the people who are actually doing it, with the exception of Gandalf, are nobodies. So, like, even Aragorn is kind of like, is like, oh, I'm the last of a broken line of kings. So, but I'm all we've got. And so,
Well, isn't that part of it of the story here being like in the what is it, the third age of
yeah.
where a lot of the huge feats in some ways have been done in the past?
Well, the world's dying. It's not the same that it used to be. There's not near as many people. There, the elves are leaving. Yeah, there's a lot of like depression baked into the cake.
Yeah, anything that was
There.
actually like touched by a Luvatar is sort of
It's fine.
like, well, it's sort of like it's already been like it's gone. It's not in the hands of like normal people now.
Well, no, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's whether or not they choose to fight for it.
Okay.
So yeah. No, Iluvatar plays no part in any of the books except for the very beginning of the first chapter of the Silmarillion. After that, he's gone.
Well, that's to where it all stems from. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
those things are
Yeah, but the idea isn't
Absolutely.
that God left the world. So
no,
yeah.
no, 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 no. But like so like if I were to go ahead and go back through like biblical history and stuff, and I can sit there and point toward, certain things and say like, okay, this is where they talked about the giants. This is where they talked about the more fantasy things, the magic,
Sure, yeah.
this like when you hit a rock and water came out, right? So that's not around anymore, right?
What in?
In modern society, right? So if this were basically like the third age of,
Maybe. Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying, like the direct like magic, the direct.
You're not going to find a lack of people out there who believe in the resurrection of Jesus.
No,
So,
no, no, no,
yeah.
no. That's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying. But in terms of if you were writing a story from this point, the direct appearances of godlike magic, right? That direct connection to the divine is going to be considerably like you don't have that now.
Um, I don't know, like Harry Potter, yeah, you do, but
Well, okay, and take that.
Yeah,
well,
so-
give me the Harry Potter. You'd consider that fantasy, right?
oh, sure, but it's also a children's series, so it's designed to actually appeal to people on a certain level where, okay, so your parents tell you magic isn't real, but it is, kind of thing.
And so
So,
explain to me on that one here, because you read that whole series.
Sure.
You got into all that here, right? All
Yeah.
right. Is there an element of that same kind of thing I talked to you about that alternate world where your skills here apply to that via the avatar of Harry Potter, or
sure, but so that
or
one,
no? Are they two separate things?
no, it's kind of similar, but you're like, you get chosen into it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, whether or not you become powerful is up to you. So in that one, you don't they don't make you go to Hogwarts. I mean, it's like one of those things like, why wouldn't I? Because you just suddenly found out by an ancient secret society that basically lives right underneath everybody's noses and does so in silly ways. So, it's a little different than any kind of like hardcore fantasy stuff out there. What the books are mostly about is like, what does it mean to be a teenager? So that's really what it's about. So it's
Right.
not about fixing the world. It's not about making the world a better place to live in. It's not about that. So it's about, being a kid, facing your fears and actually overcoming them. So, it's a very timeless story.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And is the idea there is Harry Potter supposed to be your avatar into that, or is it something that you're
There are so many characters in it, you pick one to identify with. So it's that simple. So, I mean, the fact that J.K. Rowling actually got pilloried for lack of diversity is ridiculously hilarious. So, because if you read the books, you can find a kid who's like, that guy's just like me. It's like a Simpsons episode, man.
Yeah, it was something that I was curious about because from seeing that and from just watching this history and seeing like that moment where they're talking about like fuck that depressing thing, this was part of the reason they said like, all right, so why do you kill gods in this? Well, okay, so number one, you have to take this. We only see things through one of two lenses here. Here in the West, it's either going to be so classical, like Greco-Roman gods, whereupon, yes, they were warring all the time,
Yeah, sure.
right? So there's that, that component, or you see this in a Judeo-Christian way, right? And that is completely different, right?
It is.
Where it's like, you don't aspire to godhood, right?
No.
That's not for you.
No, it's your job to fix the inequalities of man or whatever.
Right.
So the injustices of your brethren. So,
But this is a completely different culture, which has that in that. But there's like
well, and just in a broader perspective, I mean that goes back to a lot of Confucian ideology. So where you were born into a station, you were selected to be born into that station for a reason, and that's your fate. So And so the idea of actually like switching around and like waking up in Narnia the next day is like, oh, I'm one of the ruling class now. It's a fucking fantasy for a reason, because it just doesn't exist in those societies very, very much. I mean, those, like, I'd argue you probably don't run into that in Japan as much as you did 50 years ago. So so.
Oh, the castes, basically the
Yeah. So the merchants slash farmer slash, what is it, samurai, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, kind of thing.
Well, and this is what they were saying there, and this it makes perfect sense to me. Is like, if you because again, this was directly about like, why do you kill gods in media? It's like, well, all right. Well, this is actually your form of protest. Like, why did you get thrown into this? Well, it's because of these forces,
Yeah, sure.
right? And so it's sort of like an act of rebellion. That's where the same concept comes into play. And I was wondering, I was trying to think if there was any kind of media that I could think of in Western media that really mirrored that same sentence. And honestly, there's only one that I can think of.
God of War.
Well, no. That has that same sentiment.
Media? You mean like a category of media?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the closest thing I can see to that is something that we've maligned on many times, is basically that end of the world fantasy. Is that?
Oh yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And you and I have picked on it many times for those. That's the power fantasy. That's the
Yeah, this is on. Yeah. Fucking, The Walking Dead is your Western power fantasy. So
that's what I was. Yeah.
No, I'd agree with that. Yeah, because the world has been undone. So at that point in time, and so along with it go all the injustices, but man is still the bad guy. Kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, specific men.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, cannibals.
Right. Because it's never. Well, I mean, that's the thing is when you look at that storyline, it's not. The normies are the ones who got 8.
The normies are the ones who got 8. The normies got 8. So,
right?
Yeah.
It's this certain like misfit quality that makes people valuable.
Yeah.
To the Fallout Wasteland.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
You're the guy who knows how to build a transistor radio out of like car parts. So.
Or you just have a better attitude, or you're like, oh shit! It's kind of like in this horrible, dreadful world of the after. Has anybody tried being nice?
Right. K-movie Bob.
Oh fuck no! It's a misanthropic piece of shit. No, but in terms of where it's like, well, what's different about you? It's like, oh, well, I'm nice. Well, I'm
right.
Yeah. All it takes is a mother's love. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Just save one deaf child. Kind of thing. Yeah. I get it.
I'm not gonna shit on a movie where the fucking blind guy in a Bible, like all right,
that was good.
That movie kicked too much ass.
Dude, that movie really subverted a lot of expectations. I mean,
I expected to hate it.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even know what it was about. I was like, oh wait a minute, this movie's about God, really? Wait a minute, he's real. Oh my gosh, I bet you there's people who walked out of the theater on this. It's like impossible. So he just rolled a natural 20.
It was weird. Yeah, because I only watched one movie recently. Did you ever see the remake of True Grit?
No, but I've seen clips of it. I've been meaning to watch that actually. That's the one with Jeff Bridges being extra surly. So
yeah, I was shocked at how like nihilistic the movie was.
Well, the original was too. So yeah, Yeah, it's well, I mean, and so that's been the genre in the westerns. I saw this neat graph the other day from this guy on Twitter who just puts up like charts. He's like,
Oh,
here's a chart that kind of blows your mind for the day, kind of thing. And it was like all the different movie genres out there and their popularity in terms of box
oh,
office
okay,
sales
yeah, yeah.
over the years. And westerns have just flatlined for almost like 30 years now. So they're just done ever since like Tombstone and Unforgiven days. And then you think about the couple that you've actually seen, they're pretty fucking bleak. So like
Yeah,
that one,
yeah.
um, 310 to Yuma. I mean, all of them, everybody dies, in the end. And then what's the other one? There was one that was particularly gory. It had Kurt Russell in it. It was like 3 years
Oh, Bone
ago.
Tomahawk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Bone Tomahawk.
I've
Yeah,
seen
it
it.
was horrifying. It was like, oh, wait a minute, the natives are actually savages. Cool. So,
Actually, there's a component of that. There is a part where you're like, this movie is horrifying, but there's also a component that is incredibly uplifting
yeah, okay.
at the end,
Yeah,
if you take it that way.
if you take it that way. But then you can take a look at like the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, where it's all bad.
I never saw that.
Oh, that one's fun, man. But it is also equally bleak. But it does it kind of tongue in cheek. So yeah,
Like with respect to the medium, or is it blowing
very
it
much
up?
so.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
very
all
much
right,
so.
all right.
But it's like it's three like 15, 20-minute movies glued together.
Oh,
No,
really?
it's like five. Yeah.
Oh,
I think there's 5 chapters of it. Yeah. Yeah, but like this is like the whole genre's just been like that for a long time. So you might be right. I mean, that might be one of those that who knows if it comes back, it might come back in a form like that. I don't know though, man. I mean, like so you've got multiple generations of young people in Japan have kind of lived with like stagnation for a while.
yeah.
So, that's going to have a different effect. I don't think we feel that way around here, man. So,
That's what I'm wondering.
yeah.
So if I pull the data on it, right, and okay, so yeah, there are big problems with costs, and
Sure.
that's absolutely true. And it's you can point to this, and depending on your perspective, you can say that having a kid is expensive, but it's nothing on the realm that it has in the entire Eastern world.
Absolutely. So, I mean, yeah, so Dave Ramsey makes that point all the time. People call in and they're like, "Oh, having a kid is like horrible." He's like, "No, they're not." It's like he's like, "Do the math. How much they eat." So, you don't have to feed that kid gold-plated fucking baby food. So, so you're just using this as an excuse. So, stop it. Yeah. So,
There's that, and well, the other thing is we do have a system that actually incentivizes having kids.
A lot. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so I can definitely understand that. So, yeah, and on top of that, like, let's say you're in one of these rough spots. We're actually one of the countries that will take care of you. Where it's like, oh, you do need assistance with the kids. It's like, hey, apply for this, and this, you'll get it.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't want to, push the idea. Like, as a society, we need to have children. As an individual, you don't.
No, you don't.
And that's fine. That's totally okay. But yeah, it's kind of wacky. Yeah, especially compared to other countries where, yeah, that must look like a no hope future. I mean, this was something that came up. Well, they expressed it in a little bit more detail where they said, like, look, here's a chart that if you show it to anybody in the Eastern world, they're going to laugh at, right? They say, all right, so your average, South Korean, Japanese, student has less homework than so many countries, right?
Okay.
All right, now this is the thing: this is why they're going to laugh at you. They're going to say, "Well, yes, this is true, right?" But the difference is, when you're in high school, you're going to be in these mandatory clubs.
Oh.
Right? You're going to be in these mandatory clubs. You pick, right? But you
Yeah.
have to be in these clubs.
Yeah.
And these are going to keep you there, right? Until about 10 o'clock at night. right? And you're mixing in the other things that you may have to do. Your parents may have you enrolled in music lessons.
Yeah.
You're, there's going to be all sorts of these things here, so that when you get home, right, you only have like 30 minutes to work on your homework, right?
Yeah.
That's where they're saying, like, so the school only assigns you this, but that is not what life is. And they say that this is where they talked about the other problem of this was, like, you and I have talked about, I can't remember what the year was. It was we made that the episode of, like, when your dad joined TWA. It was like 1960 fucking 8 or whatever.
Something like that.
And they talked about how basically it was that same promise for the same thing was when you graduated college in Japan, there was a contract that you made with the company that you hired on with.
Right.
And you were going to be there till the day you die.
Yeah.
And you then gave your life to this company.
Yeah.
And so if you did this thing where, like, since a teenager, right, you're doing this, like, social obligation shit, and then you go to college, and then you jump in, and you're working this same job for 40 years or whatever, that's keeping you there. And like we've talked about, this is how you get promoted, is like, you got to be early. You got to be the last person out. And if you're not busy, you got to look busy.
Well, you got to look busy even though you actually are not busy.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Which is, to me, sometimes that's the worst form of work. Because if I'm actually working on something, fuck it, at least I'm doing it.
Dude, it's like that all over the world except for here. I mean, people bitch about it here. It's nothing compared to what it is in other countries. I mean, I've had this lengthy discussion with a number of German students over the years who are like, oh, I'll do anything to come here. So it's like, because I'll go over to Germany, I'll do an internship at, like, you know, Siemens or something like that. It'll be a great job. My mom will be really proud of me, you know, kind of thing. It's very similar to South Korea, but he's like, you know, it's like I'll get the job and I'll have a great life. I'll, you know, work like, you know, 35 hours a week. You know, I'll have lots of free time. I'll have 6 weeks of paid vacation and stuff like that. But I will do that job for 20 years because someone has to die before I get promoted. He's like, I can work my ass off, make great numbers for the company, all this shit. It won't fucking matter because all it does is make my boss look good. So, yeah, and I was like, yeah, it's not like that in America. I mean, you're going to find a few companies out there like that, but a lot of people fucking jump ship on that shit too. So, you know.
Well, yeah, because...
And then you wind up with Netflix. So, but yeah, no, I get that, man.
And to me, that makes perfect sense. Like, that's how your fantasy steers, if that's what your life is like.
Well, I mean, we flirted with that bullshit back in the late 90s, okay, with Office Space and Fight Club, you know.
And you're not even getting them all, because there's tons of them, man. There's a ton in there that are not.
You can even put the Matrix in there at that point in time, man. You know, there's a lot. So we flirted with some of that stuff, but then we got involved in a war. So, you know, and then we decided to fight over that for the next 15 fucking years. So, and now there's like a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth that have basically been ground down to gums at this point in time, man. I mean, it's just.
Well, it's weird because
stop that. Yeah.
Anybody that had something meaningful to say about it said it 15 years ago.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
A long time ago. You know, and people who think they have meaningful things to say about it, you weren't there, man. So, you know, you don't understand this. I mean, you grew up, you were, what, 4? So when we started that, come on, bro. So you weren't a voting citizen at the time. You have no idea how pissed off people were. So, you know, stop wagging your finger around like that, man. So.
Well, it's not, I mean, I'm on top of this here. I'm not looking at this. So I've got this, you know, incestual, you know, class of butt fuckers in Hollywood right now that are the writing class, right? There's no Hemingways in here. There's nobody. There's nobody in here who basically it's like, why do you know this?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where did you come from on this? You know, we joked about this the other day. We were talking about, like, fuck it. Like, in hindsight, Yeah, Elvis Presley was, living off base in a house with his, but at least he was fucking there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he at least no, like he did not dodge the draft. He did not jump the border. So yeah, there was a thread going around on Twitter today about like some, and I mean this guy's obviously like 19 years old. Like super hipster, kind of thing. It's like, well, we wouldn't just go. We just wouldn't go if we got drafted. I'm like, actually, you know what? They probably wouldn't take you, man. So, and you'd be the guy who's left out when if you look around your high school classroom right now, and you and your two other emo buddies are the three guys who would actually opt out of the draft, but everybody else would be like, yeah, I'll fucking go. So, because this country's never had a problem actually rallying the colors if it comes down to it. It's never been. It happened one time in 1863.
Why was that different?
Because that war was particularly ugly. So, yeah. That one was particularly ugly, and they were making all the Irish go into the army as soon as they showed up. So, but they did. Most of them did. They were like, oh, this is my ticket to America. You got it. So, But anyway. Yeah. So like I don't know, some of that angsty bullshit. I think it's good. I think some of that's gonna go away just because, like you're talking about, in other countries you do that. You go to college and you do this and you do that and you get this like a social contract. That's completely changing in this country right now, man. It's changing under our feet. I'm watching my students go through it right now. Where it's like, okay. Why are you in college? Well, I'm here because I want to play football for another year. It's like, okay, what are you going to do after that?
Good answer.
Yeah, he's like, what are you going to do after that? He's like, well, I'll take this degree and, I'll go get a trade and I'll start a small business. And it's like, that's brilliant.
Well, we don't need to talk.
Yeah, we don't need to talk, man.
Yeah.
Do your homework and I'll give you an A in this class. You're fine, man.
Yeah.
So, and and so there's just this fundamental shift going on because like I want you to watch watch gas prices the next 6 months. They're gonna start to fucking tank. So now these are notoriously difficult to predict. Okay, but this whole OPEC thing is done. So it is absolutely cooked, man. So the Ukraine war with Russia broke its back, and we're gonna go back to having cheap energy in this country, man. Which means people are gonna build shit again. They're not gonna sit there on a fucking computer. AI is gonna do that now. So. I mean, it's the revenge of the jocks. We had the revenge of the nerds in the 1980s where the computer guys ruled the next 40 years. So it's not going to work that way in the future, man. If you can turn a wrench, if you can fix a car, if you can lay a road, you're going to be the guys making the money. So not guys like me. My jobs like me are done. So, I got on the very last car on this train, man. So, I mean, think about it, bro. So,
yeah, it's funny, man.
You're like, what skills do you have? It's like, oh, I can teach management. It's like, well, I do management. It's like, well, you got me beat then.
You didn't get on the last car, man. You got on the last lifeboat, and you're rowing away in a lifeboat meant for 15. And
I got this one, man.
You're pulling the ladder up
for 15 fucking days, man. So that's how it's going, man. I've seen that already. So you got like, you just have to look at like. So, I like to go through the job boards on the LinkedIn and stuff like that every now and then.
Yeah, that's been a hobby of yours for
it has been, and
decades,
I like to kick them out to students if I find good ones out there.
Oh, okay.
The jobs out there are fucking amazing right now.
But the money's not going as far.
Well, that's fine, but I'm just saying that
is a problem.
They're getting opportunities where they didn't used to get the opportunities, and then like people that I remember from years ago who really struggled in school, so have landed in places where it's like, oh, okay, you're a roofer now.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Stuff like that. So there's actually work out there for people who can't ace the SAT now, and that's a good thing. That's something that you don't have in Japan. So in Japan, you got to get the fucking top in order to get that job at the local Zaibatsu.
You know what? And that was part of the history that I was looking at too. Is like, this shit is fucked up.
It's totally fucked up, man. Talking about organized capitalism.
Like,
So, yeah.
I was looking at this shit. I was like, I feel like this is. I feel like this is where like the Yakuza guys are. Like,
yeah, exactly.
No, it's kind of wacky, yeah, because I'm with you 100%, and there are certain things that I can't be as optimistic about the oil situation as is, because I feel like it would be on that trend now. I feel like everything hinges, like you said, 6 months. I think there are some very important things that have to happen in 6 months, but this is just coming from somebody that used to work in the industry. All right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
there are certain things like, I would believe it if, on the back end, there was some, say one thing, do the other, opening up more of this here in the States, right?
Yeah, but they've been doing some of that. So, the question is, how much of it do you need to do if there's already a flood coming your way? So
I was there when the flood happened.
Yeah, I know you were.
They couldn't give the shit away.
No, and
people were coming to the wells with pots and pans.
Fill me up, boss. I'm just gonna spray into this field over here. Yeah,
dudes were showing up with garbage bags.
Garbage bags.
They're holding up their shirts.
Exactly. So, yeah, right. Fill me up, dude. Yeah. So no, I mean, I don't think it might not even be a 6-month trend, but like. So the famous productivity graph.
What, guns and butter?
No, the one where it breaks. Wages break from productivity.
Oh yeah.
That's actually not due to anything that happened in the United States. It's 100. It happened on a day. Yom Kippur, 1973.
Oh yeah.
50 years ago, it happened on a day. And the reason why it happened on a day was because that was the day that the OPEC realized that they could control the American economy. So at that point in time, people in America said, well, okay, so, rather than pouring a leaded gasoline in this fucking steam shovel that builds shit, we're gonna make computers now. And now the energy is coming back. So, like, what's the biggest green energy state in the United States?
Right now?
Yes, right now. Which state draws most of its power? So the highest proportion of its power from green energy. Which state is it?
Okay, now I just read something about this where this is going to change.
Okay.
But who is it now?
It's Texas.
Okay. The reason that I find that interesting is because I just watched something that said Wyoming is going to be huge.
Probably. You know why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they're protecting their interests.
Well, I guess, but it's more so that they actually allow you to build shit there.
Yeah.
You don't have fucking permitting problems in Wyoming. And same thing in Texas. Texas has laws in place where it's like basically you have to object to it. And through this system rather than through the courts, unlike California, if your neighbor decides to put up windmills on his fucking, 1,000-acre ranch. So,
Well, you also don't have to pull 10,000 permits to do
No, you don't. Yeah. And so that's why it's overtaking that. And so you go from a state like that, it's a huge energy consumer. So to the point in time where basically, you approach like a couple ranchers and they say, wait a minute, I put these things up, my cows go around them, okay, and they generate money for free. This is a great deal. Put up more, please. As opposed to like other states who are like, it looks ugly, but then you turn around and you take a look at Texas. All right, so how do you get around Texas and stuff like that? It's a huge place. So it's a huge energy consumer. So, but then you take half the energy grid and put it basically so it's fucking free. That's going to bleed out to the rest of the country and other places, man. So,
well, they're going to sell it. Yeah.
Absolutely, they're going to sell it. Wow. So, yeah. That's why I changed my mind on electric cars. I mean, they're not going to be a problem. So, like the whole electric grid's not going to be a problem at all. So, because, and there was even more evidence on that in particular with battery technology now. So they say, well, okay, first of all, it evens out the base load because when do you charge your car?
At night.
Yeah, that's when you're not running your air conditioner. So if you take a look at the
Fair
load,
point.
yeah,
Okay. Well, all right.
yeah, when you
all
take a look at the load, it spikes during the day and it drops during the night. And say, well, that's perfect time to charge your fucking car. So,
Okay.
and then on top of that, you're not going to use them for long haul loads anyway. And the real problem is actually getting like, electric car infrastructure to a place like middle of Montana.
Yeah.
So, the people are
Yeah.
going to drive diesel trucks up there anyway. So the place where you want electric cars is like here. So where, okay, everybody drives to work and they go home and they plug their car in at night. So you don't need to go that far. So,
Well, Patrick, the problem here, right? The problem with that is it's too good of a solution,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
The issue that I have with this,
Yeah.
right, is, and it's not my issue. I could
Sure.
give a fuck, right? Whatever it's going to change to is going to change to.
Yeah.
I got on that bandwagon a long time ago.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. You're the first guy that I know who bought a hybrid. So,
But and again, it's like I told the guys on the rig, I'm like, look, it still uses gas, just less of it.
yeah.
Like, I don't stuff this thing with goose feathers to make it fucking go. So I can't believe you bought that. It was
You're going to take out our jobs. Yeah, they took our jobs.
It's like, what are you, stupid? Do I have to buy the most expensive thing just to prove a point?
Right.
But yeah, so, I got on board with that a long time ago. My whole point here is there has to be something within certain people that must hate the idea of the electric car. And I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
Because it rips away from them the elitism to say, like, okay, well, look at these shitty areas that are so spread out,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah, no, I know where you're going with this.
You
Yeah,
do,
and I
It's-
agree with you.
You're
Yeah,
right. It's
yeah.
like, this is an inferior way of life.
Yeah,
This is, you're building horizontally and not vertically,
Right,
and
right,
that's
right.
wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong.
We'll do it in your fucking neighborhood, Mr. San Francisco, man. So, So, yeah, I saw that on Twitter today, too. Someone had imposed a city footprint of Paris over San Francisco.
Yeah.
And San Francisco is just slightly bigger, but it has like a third of the people.
Dude, we only have one place that's that dense.
We don't need that much density.
No.
So yeah, in fact, your whole housing, the whole problem with housing in the United States is not rent control or anything. Like I saw today, like DC actually had to shut down their fund. They have this fund that it's like housing assistance, and they got another like $43 million for it. And it was gone in like 2 fucking days. And so they say, well, we're not taking any more applications until Congress approves more money or the next fiscal year comes around. So, but here's your problem, man. I mean, you got to build shit. So, housing, you fix housing if you build more houses. So it's that simple.
Oh, man, that's not even a 2 variable equation. That's not even 1.
Right, it's just a whole number.
Yeah, you're just representing one thing as a whole number, and another one as a fraction.
I know, but you get all these people. Oh, the suburbs are bad, and they increase decrease diversity and stretch out school, and tax urban school districts and blah 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 and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, that's because they suck. But if you take a look at towns that actually do branch out a little, I mean, you don't have to look any further than the Pueblo and take a look there versus here. Here you can permit anything. So, it's basically like, all right, fine, as long as it's not dumping sewage into Fountain Creek, okay? Because we got sued to, hell and back for that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine. Yeah, and hey, we paid for a lot of water runoff infrastructure with the bond measure a couple of years ago. It's great investment, blah, blah, blah. But then they turn around and they say, okay, so we're going to annex this humongous part of land up by William and build houses on it. And it's going to need 8 new fire stations, a new police station, and all this shit. And then you sit there and think about it. It's like, wow, that's a lot of jobs.
Yep.
That's a lot of jobs. And then you turn around and
I
you
need
take a
trim
look.
carpenters. I need tile setters. I need...
Well, it's not even that. I mean, every couple blocks up there is going to have a come and go and, like a Taco Bell and all kinds of shit. And,
but you need teachers.
you're going to need teachers. You're going to need accountants. You're going to need lawyers. You're going to need all kinds of... just the second and third order effects are amazing. And for the sacrifice of what? Okay, I live along Austin Bluffs. It's gonna fucking suck. You know? And for anybody who's trying to get downtown or get down to Peter Shriver or something like that, yeah, okay, it's gonna clog up the roads. Got it. Okay, so all right, yeah, maybe it is time to start thinking about like, okay, so how many of these people can telecommute and stuff like that. It's still a nice place to live. So, or yeah, okay, man, we can squeeze another lane of traffic in here. You never know. So, but those are small fry problems compared to like what Pueblo has. So, where it's like, well, we attracted this company and they're going to bring 30 jobs here, but it cost us $40 million in infrastructure. And it's like, what the fuck?
Well, yeah, at that point,
We don't want to build more houses because it makes our houses worth less. And it's like, yes, that's the fucking point.
that's how you get more people.
That's how you get more people.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's how that works. So
no, well, and this will actually, it will make the original houses worth more
eventually.
in time.
In time.
Well, and that's the other funny thing here is, but yeah, it spits on the dream of like, but mass transit was supposed to be the answer.
Oh, don't get me started on trains, man. So I know.
I know.
The train people are insufferable. So they're absolutely, they're everywhere on the Twitter too, man. So it's like, I saw it the other day. We're going to send more money to Ukraine. This is why we don't have trains in America. It's like, God damn it. I knew you guys going there.
It's funny because the other thing is it's always the argument. It's like, well, this is why we don't have universal healthcare. It's like, no, actually, the reason we don't have universal healthcare is because Ted Kennedy killed it.
He did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Well, and Nixon proposed it. And nobody wants to give him credit for that either. So
no.
Yeah.
No. And to his credit, he's like, well, I'm going to hold out for a better deal, right? It wasn't like he did it in anger. It's like,
well, no, he did it. Matt Gaetz did.
You fucking flipped all the papers off his desk.
Flip his desk.
How dare you? It's fundamentally wrong with life, right? It wasn't like that. And it's not that, oh, because we have these aircraft carriers, we don't have universal health care. It's like, no, we could flip the switch on it tomorrow and make the money appear, right? Sure. We could.
Yeah.
That would be no problem.
There'd be no problem.
But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, all right, I'm guessing that there's probably something in here where I say, all right, there's a component of that you can probably use to make work that covers people that can't handle this, or it supplements these things, right? But whatever you do, don't lose the private sector, because that's what makes it so much better than most other places.
Absolutely.
Because you have to have some competitive element in here to make it not dog shit.
Yeah, no. So, and there's so many people who just want that NHS, your doctor works for the government so I can trust him kind of thing, which is ironic now, but whatever. And then it's ridiculous, man. So I've looked at, and I'm like, the cost of actually doing a system like that is insane in a country like this. And the problem is, it isn't us. It isn't like people who live in decent sized cities. It's everybody who lives in the country. Oh. So, because it's like, oh, okay, so we're going to have like 8 different specialists from the NHS who reside in Lawrence, Kansas or wherever, so because they don't have OBGYN coverage there. It's like, well, that's a legit concern. Okay. But that's expensive because you're paying somebody a lot of money to service very few people.
Yeah.
So that's why the competition thing is actually really important. Japan's got that one right, man. So their system is great. So I told you about this.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, the 70% cover.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's 70%. The government covers 70% of everything, and then 30% on top of that is yours. So whatever it is. So people are really judicious about when they actually go see the doctor. So, but at the same point in time, if you get in a car wreck and you need to hit your hip replaced, you're not going to go bankrupt. So it's a great system.
But they also make you go see the doctor.
They do make you go see the doctor, yeah. So no, they do. So they say, yeah, as part of eligibility, you got to go see the doctor every single day. That'd be great. So, but then again, they also live to be 110. So I mean that adds expense on the other side too. So there you go.
What do you want? They don't eat.
That's true. Well, some of them do.
No, I mean, they do.
Yeah.
But
Honda eats,
he's a protected class.
He's a protected class.
I mean,
they live on a preserve.
They live on a preserve, and yeah, there's a law there where you have to maintain X amount of fumos per. It's
Just throw steaks over the wall.
Look, man, I'm gonna put it to you this way, like, I don't think the all-you-can-eat Japanese buffets are ever concerned the same way that we are here. I don't think they're like, yeah, I don't think it's the same threat.
Right. Yeah.
Not at all.
He's not going to take the tray.
Well, especially like, what are you going to do? I will argue, Patrick. I will argue. I don't have the solid evidence to put this out there right now. This would take a worthy study. Okay, but I'm just going to throw this out here as we leave.
Okay.
Okay. So the science proves that when you eat, you cannot reach a point of satiety until at least 10 to 20 minutes. Your brain doesn't start to register that there's food in your stomach and turn off the, like, hungry thing.
Okay,
right?
I'd buy that, yeah.
Which is why it's kind of weird when people hit a wall, right? You're starving, right? So you eat and you eat and you eat. You feel like you're not getting full, right? And then about 15 minutes in, and you've put down, like, your 6-piece of pizza, right?
And yeah.
You hit the wall, you start sweating, and you say, I need to go sleep. Right? Now, what I will argue is if these scientific facts are the same, and your society, okay, doesn't have spoons and forks, but you eat with these 2 little sticks, right?
Oh, yeah, okay, I got you. This is a lot different than eating the burger directly out of the wrapper. Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah, I got
right?
you.
So if you had to eat this cheeseburger with 2 sticks,
Yeah.
right? Just take all the ingredients, spread them out, eat it with 2 sticks,
Yeah.
right? At 15 minutes, you're still going to feel full.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you, in my set here, I still have some of the old spoons, right? There's a big one that was Dad's,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That is now mine.
Yeah.
I'll bet you if I even forced myself to eat with a smaller spoon, I would hit that wall less hard.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, so no, that's totally true. And so that portion control does fucking matter a lot. So lately I've been doing that thing too. So rather than eating a whole magazine of Oreos, I eat 3 and then I'll just wait and it's fine. And so thank you for explaining the science behind that. Because I thought it was willpower, which I don't have very much of. So,
You know why? That's why I lift the fucking weights to kind of offset all that. Because they looked at it as like, they said like, so is there some magic in the diet that these people eat? No, they eat the same dog shit that we do.
Yeah, they just eat less of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, why? It's like, because it's harder for you.
Right.
It is so hard. Like, you can get like 7 grains of rice on these sticks.
Yeah.
Where if I have Dad's big spoon,
You can get a lot. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, there you go. So portion control is the key. Anyway.
just try to eat peanut butter with chopsticks versus a spoon, man. It's
I can get a lot of peanut butter on chopstick.
as much as Dad's big spoon.
Oh, no, that's true. Okay.
No, because that's a garden spade.
All right. Big spoon for the win. I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
I'm hitting the button.
Yeah.